This is my TNA Against All Odds 2010 pay-per-view predictions. Pay-per-view is live tomorrow night exclusively on pay-per-view. Now, before I get into my pay-per-view predictions for the TNA pay-per-view that's going to be airing tomorrow night, just want to give my quick thoughts on WWE getting rid of the Survivor Series pay-per-view. And no longer it's going to be the Big Four. Now it's just the Big Three, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam. And those are the only, big pay-per-views that are still around. Used to have the Big Five when the King of the Ring was still around. Now Survivor Series is gone, so you just have the Big Three. Now, a lot of people are hating WWE for doing this. I dislike the idea of them getting rid of the Survivor Series pay-per-view, mainly just because it's been one of those pay-per-views that's been around for so long. It's been around for over 20 years, and it's one of those pay-per-views that's pretty much been there since WWE started doing pay-per-views, and that's the one thing I have a problem with. One of their established pay-per-views they're getting rid of. Now, I don't think we're going to have to worry about WWE getting rid of, SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble. I don't think they're going to do that just because those are two of the, other than WrestleMania, two of the most established names in WWE as far as pay-per-view names go. Survivor Series, now the reason why they got rid of Survivor Series is the pay-per-view buy rates for the 2009 edition of Survivor Series was down a whole lot more than what it used to be. The pay-per-view didn't draw that great as a normal Big Four pay-per-view would. And Vince McMahon has stated the reason why this pay-per-view buy rate was down, the pay-per-view didn't do as good as buy rates as it should have, was because of the whole Survivor Series gimmick and the whole idea behind Survivor Series and the tradition of Survivor Series is becoming obsolete, and the fans just don't really care about it anymore. And I wouldn't say that was the reason for it. I'm not the hugest Survivor Series fan, so and the main reason why that I am not the hugest Survivor Series fan is just because really the whole tradition of Survivor Series hasn't really meant anything really for the last 10 years as far as what the meaning of Survivor Series used to be. I mean, in the beginning Survivor Series, what you saw were, all, 4-on-4 matches or 5-on-5 matches, elimination matches, Survivor Series traditional matches. And you saw, feuds either, culminate within the matches, feuds getting involved in the matches that's been going on for a little bit, or you either saw, teams that, unlikely teams that you wouldn't think would team against each other. Not only that, you would see wrestlers take on each other that you normally wouldn't see take on each other. And I think that whole idea of Survivor Series has really been, thrown out the window for a long time as far as the whole idea. You see stuff, you'll see matchups that you normally wouldn't see. You'll see, these teams that unlikely teams against each other. And I think that's one of the traditions of Survivor Series that hasn't really meant anything what it used to be during the early years of Survivor Series. And obviously, a lot of people are saying the main reason why the pay-per-views are down is not because of Vince's whole idea that the pay-per-view is becoming obsolete, but because of the pay-per-view buy rates or the build-up or the card for the 2009 edition of Survivor Series. Now, people that say that, they do have a reasoning for saying that, and I kind of agree with it, but I would say two other reasons, so two other main reasons other than whatever the build-up was or however what the card looked like. I would say the main reason why the pay-per-view buy rates are down is because of one, the economy. Not that many people can afford to order a $45 pay-per-view every single month. And, the second reason is because of the oversaturated pay-per-view market. I mean, you got WWE and you got wrestling competing against MMA, but not only you got wrestling competing against MMA, you got boxing as well. Boxing still draws from time to time with big fights. And, the oversaturated wrestling pay-per-view market. I mean, you got WWE doing 14 pay-per-views a year, TNA doing 12, and then you got something like, say, when Ring of Honor did pay-per-views, they had 6 a year. Now you got the Dragon Gate USA pay-per-views, and they do 6 a year. So you got a lot of pay-per-views there to choose from. And then, say a lot of people that are wrestling fans are fans of, boxing and MMA. So people, a lot of months have to choose, like, which one they want. Do I want to get the Survivor Series pay-per-view, or do I want to get this MMA fight, or do I want to get this boxing event? And that's the way it is, just the oversaturated pay-per-view market. And another thing is, obviously, people watching on streams, downloads, torrents, and stuff like that. So that takes an account right there. It doesn't have to do anything, I would say, with the pay-per-view being obsolete. The people saying, the buy rates are down because of the build-up and everything, that's one of the things I'd say. The oversaturated pay-per-view market and the economy. That's the two main reasons why the pay-per-view buy rates are down. But the build-up, if you want to look at it in a way where why is one reason last year people ordered it other than this year, and you don't want to base it around the economy, you know, the build-up of it obviously goes in account with it. So it is kind of sad to see a WWE pay-per-view that's been around for so long being gone, but I'm not going to hate on it like so many other people have, that it's like one of the worst decisions WWE has ever made, because actually out of it, we might be able to get one thing I think a lot of people in the IWC has been wanting to see for a long time, and that's the War Games match. Now, I'll be fine with them getting rid of Survivor Series if I can get the War Games match and they do a War Games themed pay-per-view. And, you know, if they do the War Games, you still got the kind of idea of team versus team, and that's kind of like the Survivor Series tradition. So not only will you kind of keep the Survivor Series tradition alive a little bit if you do a War Games pay-per-view, you'll give people a gimmick match that people have been wanting to see in WWE for many years, and one of the, you know, biggest stars in WWE, Triple H, has been, you know, pretty much trying his best to get Vince McMahon to do it for years. So I think if we get a War Games match and a War Games gimmick pay-per-view, and you get a War Games match every year and have it, you know, built up in a good way, that will be fine to get rid of Survivor Series. I won't really have a problem if we get that. Now, if they throw in some, you know, stupid pay-per-view gimmick that doesn't make any sense, or it's just something that shouldn't, you know, replace Survivor Series, then I would really dislike it. But if it's War Games, I'll be fine with it. Even a tournament-based pay-per-view, I wouldn't really mind that, because WWE did do a survey and kind of asked, you know, what pay-per-view type themes would you be interested in? And if I can find the WWE survey, I'll put it in the link in the description. I'll see if I can find it, because I think more people that fill it out and, you know, say if they want to see War Games, the bigger chance of them doing it. But I think that is going to be one of the things they'll replace it with, is a War Games themed pay-per-view. Now let me get on to my TNA Against All Odds 2010 pay-per-view predictions. Pay-per-view is live tomorrow night on pay-per-view. Now this pay-per-view is really, you know, 2 non-tournament matches, and everything else is going to be tournament-based. They got an 8-card stud tournament with 8 TNA wrestlers competing in the tournament, and whoever wins the 8-card stud tournament and wins the finals gets a TNA World Heavyweight Championship shot at the TNA Lockdown pay-per-view coming up in April. And just as long as this tournament is booked good and the main event is good on this pay-per-view, this could actually be a very good TNA pay-per-view, but it's going to be one of those pay-per-views that I think just with, you know, some people might be not interested in a tournament, and it's kind of you're not really sure what they're going to do booked in the tournament, because tournaments can be booked good and they can be booked bad. And if TNA, you know, books it good, it could be a very good tournament, but if they book it in a bad way, it could be a bad one as well. Let me get on to it. The first 4 matches will most likely be first round matches for the 8-card stud tournament. The first matchup will be the Pope D'Angelo De Niro versus Desmond Wolfe. This should be a very good match. Now, the only thing with the first round matches, don't expect the first round matches to get that much time. Expect them at the most to maybe get 8 to 10 minutes. But Desmond Wolfe versus the Pope D'Angelo De Niro should do very good stuff no matter what time they are given in the ring. See Desmond Wolfe winning in that match and advancing to the semifinals to take on the winner of the next match, which will be Hernandez versus Matt Morgan. Now, this match, obviously, I'm not going to be the hugest fan of this match, and you know, if you're a fan of the big guy matches, you might enjoy this match. It might not be as bad as what I'm expecting. It might at least be watchable. That's the best I see it being. I see Matt Morgan advancing. So then in the semifinals of the first side of the bracket, you'll have Desmond Wolfe versus Matt Morgan. Then I see Desmond Wolfe advancing to the finals, even though Matt Morgan could be a possibility just because of someone else on the other side could possibly take him on. I wouldn't be too shocked if they would book that match in the finals of the 8-card stud tournament. Now let me get to the other side of the bracket. In the first round matches will be Kurt Angle versus Mr. Anderson. Now, Mr. Anderson has been posting a couple updates on his Twitter account that he's been saying that he might not be able to make this pay-per-view due to flights being canceled, and I think at this moment in time, as far as what he's saying, the only available flight, or the next available flight for him to make it to Orlando is going to be Monday. So at this point, it's looking like he might miss the pay-per-view, but either way, they'll just, put someone else against Kurt Angle, and either way it was going to go, Kurt Angle was going to be the one winning the first round match. I don't see, even if Mr. Anderson, Ken Kennedy, can actually make the pay-per-view and come down there to Orlando, Kurt Angle is going to be the one winning in his first round match, and he'll be taking on the winner of the Mick Foley versus Abyss match in the semifinals. And I see Mick Foley and Abyss, maybe they'll be able to kind of pay us back for the terrible match they had against each other, because it's Mick Foley versus Abyss, and even though it's an 8-card stud tournament, at this moment it's not said this match is like a no DQ or anything, but I think they'll at least bend the rules for these two in this match. I think they'll allow them to do some hardcore stuff in here, or maybe just have them, double DQ each other. That could be a possibility if they don't bend the rules. But I see Abyss winning this match, advancing on to take on Kurt Angle in the semifinals. So in the semifinals, you have in the first bracket, I already said you got Desmond Wolfe versus Matt Morgan. I see Desmond Wolfe winning that. Then you got Kurt Angle versus Abyss on the other side, and I see Kurt Angle winning that. Then the finals will be Kurt Angle versus Desmond Wolfe, which will most likely take place after the tag match, which tag match will be the Nasty Boys versus Team 3D. I think this match no one really cares about seeing. There's a few people that might care about seeing it. I know one of my best friends wants to see this match real bad for some reason or another, just because it's been one of those types of matches he's been wanting to see for a long time. But I think the people that care about this match are such a small number that TNA should not be doing this match. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, the Dudleys versus the Nasty Boys might have been able to draw something and people will be interested in seeing it. But in 2010, I don't think anyone cares about seeing the match. Not only that, people don't care about seeing the Nasty Boys. Hopefully this will be the last time we have to see the Nasty Boys in TNA. But with Brian Knobbs and the Nasty Boys, both of them being close to Hogan, don't expect it to be the last time we'll see him. I'm just saying, hopefully this be the last time we have to see him. Team 3D will go over the match just because it'd be pointless to book the Nasty Boys to defeat them in the match. So the Team 3D will win the match. Hopefully it'll be short and painless. Hopefully they don't make it go too long and drag it out and make it even a worse match than what it possibly could be. It's definitely not going to be a good match. I would say, even though the Hernandez-Matt Morgan match probably won't be the greatest, I see that match being at least better than the Nasty Boys and Team 3D match. I think we can already pencil in what match of this pay-per-view is most likely going to be the worst match of the night. The Dudleys, Team 3D taking on the Nasty Boys. That'll probably be the worst match of the pay-per-view, unless it really shocks us and actually surprises us and gives us a good match. But I doubt that will happen. Then in the finals of the 8-card stud tournament, you'll have Desmond Wolfe versus Kurt Angle in the finals. And, they could possibly, have Desmond Wolfe go over and win the 8-card stud tournament, but I don't see that happen. I kind of see this tournament kind of being built around Kurt Angle, and I see Kurt Angle getting the shot at the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at Lockdown, maybe another match against him and AJ Styles, especially since I see AJ Styles keeping the title till then. So he'll advance to take on not Kurt Angle, but take on AJ Styles at Lockdown, or take on whoever at that moment in time is the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. But it would be kind of cool to see TNA maybe do a surprise and have maybe someone like Abyss win the tournament. But the one thing is, if they have Abyss, advance to the finals, a match in him and Desmond Wolfe, I don't see that being good, or the Pope, or Matt Morgan, or Hernandez. So the tournament is going to be hurt. But the what could happen out of it at AJ Styles versus Abyss match at Lockdown, kind of like a 5 years later at Lockdown, them two against each other for the World Heavyweight Championship. Wouldn't mind seeing that, but that would hurt the overall tournament, I think. I think the quality of the tournament would kind of be hurt if he advances to the finals instead of Kurt Angle. Because Kurt Angle against the Pope or Kurt Angle against Desmond Wolfe could be a great match. And like I said, I see Kurt Angle advancing and winning the tournament and taking on the TNA World Heavyweight Champion at the TNA Lockdown pay-per-view coming up in April. Then the main event will be Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Now, hopefully this match will not be hurt because of interference or too much interference, AJ Styles doing too much heel tactics, and hopefully that doesn't hurt the quality of the match, because I think we all know Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles can have an incredible match against each other, especially in a main event of a pay-per-view in given time as well. That's the other thing. Hopefully they get at least, maybe 20, 25 minutes, and these two could have a great match. Now, I'm not saying don't have AJ Styles do any heel tactics or don't have any interference, but just don't book it into the level where it just becomes, it turns the match that could be something good into a complete clusterfuck. That's the only thing I don't want them to do. But obviously, Flair's going to have some involvement in this match. AJ Styles will do some heel tactics behind the ref, and I'm all fine with that, just as long as, like I said, they don't book it to a level where it's overbooking of the match and it turns it into a clusterfuck. Hopefully we'll get a good match for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. And I see AJ Styles retaining the title some way or another. I don't see him winning it clean. He'll probably, Ric Flair will distract the ref and AJ Styles will do something then. Or AJ Styles will, hold the tights of Samoa Joe and just win the title that way, or some like fast count or something. Well, hopefully they don't do a fast count ending. That'd be a terrible ending of pay-per-view, but holding the tights or something like that. He'll win in some way or another, and AJ Styles will retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And like I said, this pay-per-view actually doesn't look like it will be bad. Now, the one thing is going to really be based on how they book the tournament. Now, the first round matches were probably guaranteed the Pope D'Angelo Del Nero versus Desmond Wolf to be a very good match. Mr. Anderson versus Kurt Angle, that's going to be determining if Mr. Anderson can make the pay-per-view and his flight's not held back if he can make it. That should be a good match. Actually, it's kind of, I wouldn't go as far as calling it a dream match, but it's one of those matches I actually would like to see against them too. And hopefully we'll have Mr. Anderson make the pay-per-view so him and Kurt Angle could take on each other. And Kurt Angle and Abyss, they've had matches before. If Abyss advances, that could be good. Mick Foley and Kurt Angle, I don't want to see it all, so hopefully Abyss does advance to take on Kurt Angle. And Kurt Angle, I'm sure, is going to pretty much advance to the finals and take on either the Pope D'Angelo Del Nero and Desmond Wolf. That could go either way, but I'm saying Desmond Wolf is going to advance to the finals. And I would like to see him win the tournament and take on AJ Styles at Lockdown, but I think that might be booking him too quick in the main event of the pay-per-view, since he'll really only be there 5 or 6 months by the time of the Lockdown pay-per-view. You might be booking him way too quick, especially. But the one thing is, a tournament like this, and the 8-card stud tournament, even though they've had the Desmond Wolf kind of lose a lot of matches recently, a tournament like this could really, build him back up and get him back to the level of seeming like he's worthy of being in the main event. So TNA, if they look at it that way, they could possibly think about, hey, maybe we need to build him back up, have him, seem like he's worthy of being in the main event again, and have him win. But I see Kurt Angle winning it. It should be a good pay-per-view. The only thing that's going to be probably terrible is the Team 3D match against the Nasty Boys. And like I said, just as long as the tournament part of the pay-per-view is booked good, it could be a good pay-per-view. And yeah, that's it for my TNA Against All Odds 2010 pay-per-view predictions. Just wanted to come on here and get my thoughts on the WWE getting rid of Survivor Series as well. And yeah, that's it. Peace.